The thumping started at 4 a.m. Not a knock, not a hoof on soft ground, but a desperate rhythmic banging from inside the barn.
That's not Ben, my gelding. That sound is wrong.
David grabbed the oil lantern from the table and stepped into the cold, his boots crunching on frozen gravel. Inside the stall, the lantern light fell on a sight that stopped him cold. A newborn foal, chestnut and wet, sprawled in the straw with eyes that were clouded white-blue.
Where did you come from?
Above him, a pair of amber eyes burned from the rafters. A pregnant bobcat, her spotted coat taut over her belly, watched without blinking.
She's not attacking. She's just standing guard.
His own mare, a gentle chestnut, had lumbered from her stall and now stood over the foal, nuzzling its wet head as if it were her own.
Easy now. Nobody's gonna hurt you.
He knelt, his calloused hand hovering over the foal's flank, feeling the rapid heartbeat. The bobcat's eyes never left him.
You can't see anything, can you? Born into this dark world and already blind.
His mare pressed her warm nose against his shoulder, a gesture that felt less like affection and more like a plea.
She's not here by accident. That bobcat, she's waiting for something, or protecting someone. Martha would have known what to do. She always talked about how every creature deserves a chance, even the broken ones. All right, old girl, I'll get some colostrum. You keep him warm.
He set the lantern on a hay bale, the warm glow casting a circle around the unlikely trio, and backed away slowly.
I don't know how you got here, but you are safe now. Both of you.
The door creaked shut behind him, leaving the barn in the lantern's amber pool of light.
There's is no way that foal walked here alone. Something brought it. Something that shouldn't be here.
His eyes traced a trail of small, desperate hoofprints leading from the woods, and beside them, the delicate paw marks of a wild cat.
These hoofprints head straight toward Wade Harlan's place.
He mixed a bottle of milk, replacer, and held it to the foal's lips. The little one suckled weakly, but with purpose.
That mare of Wade's, she was due to foal this week, and she vanished the same night this one was born.
Within the hour, he was riding the 4 miles to Harlan's farm, the image of that blind foal burning in his mind. He found Wade on the porch, a rifle leaning against the rail, cleaning gear scattered on the table.
Wade, your mare go missing 3 nights back.
She ran off. Coyotes got her, I reckon. Didn't bother looking for a dead foal. You got something to say, Reeves? You best keep your nose out of my affairs.
He's lying through his teeth, and that rifle's been used recent.
He rode home with a cold knot in his stomach, the bobcat's watching eyes suddenly feeling like an ally, not a stranger. He pulled the memory card from the trail camera at the edge of his property, its plastic case cold from the morning air. The camera had been strapped to an old oak 3 nights ago, aimed at the deer trail that ran down toward Wade Harlan's back pasture.
Let's see what walked past here the night that foal showed up.
The first timestamp read 11:47 p.m. A pregnant bobcat stepped into the frame, then paused, waiting. Then a second clip. The bobcat had arched her back, ears flat, hissing. 2 coyotes skulked in the distance.
She shielded him from coyotes. 4 miles of coyote country.
The timestamps were relentless. 12, 14 am 1, 2 am, 2 am, 2:41 am. Each frame proving a journey of impossible devotion.
She knew to come to my barn. A wild cat. And she trusted me before I even saw her. Why?
The screen flickered, but the truth was etched deeper than any digital file. That bobcat had chosen his barn, and he could no longer pretend it was mere coincidence. He printed the clearest frame, the bobcat, back arched, standing between the foal and 2 coyotes, and slid it into his jacket pocket. An hour later, he was back at Wade Harlan's gate, the photograph a heavy rectangle against his ribs. Back again, Reeves. I thought I told you to stay off my land.
I know your mare didn't run off. I've got proof a bobcat brought a blind foal to my barn the night she disappeared.
A bobcat? You've lost your mind. That foal was stillborn. I would have shot it myself if the mare hadn't bolted.
You'd shoot a blind foal? It's breathing right now, Wade, because that bobcat protected it from coyotes for 4 miles.
You listen to me, old man. That animal is my property. You keep it. I'll have the sheriff on you for theft. Now get off my farm.
He'd rather see it dead than blind. That tells me everything I need to know about him. That foal isn't property. It's a life, and I won't let Wade end it.
He stepped back into the barn, the mare nickering softly, the foal asleep in the straw, and the bobcat still watching from above.
She hasn't come down from the rafters all day. She's too heavy, and she's going to give birth soon.
He fetched a bowl of water and a chunk of venison from the freezer, climbing the rickety ladder with painstaking calm.
There you go, girl. You'll need your strength for what's coming.
That night, on the grainy monitor in his kitchen, he watched her labor begin, her body rippling with contractions, her amber eyes squeezed shut.
She's doing it all alone up there, just like Martha did when she brought Sunrise into the world.
One by one, 3 tiny damp kittens emerged, their mouths opening in soundless cries as their mother licked them clean.
Welcome to the world, little ones. You are safe here.
The bobcat gathered her newborns close, her body curved around them like a fortress of fur and instinct.
I am responsible for them now, all of them. A blind foal, a wild mother, and 3 newborns.
He left the baby monitor on beside his pillow, the faint, steady mewling a lullaby that kept the silence of the empty house at bay. The next morning, pale light filtered through the barn windows. The foal was awake, ears flicking toward the sound of David's boots.
He's got more fight in him today. Those legs are steadier than they were yesterday.
By the 3rd day, the foal could stand for minutes at a time. David brought out an old leather lead rope, the one Martha used for her mare, and slipped it over the foal's head.
Come on, boy. Follow the sound of my voice. You don't need eyes for that.
As he led the foal around the paddock, a familiar dust cloud rose on the county road. Wade Harlan's pickup rolled to a crawl, then stopped, a silhouette watching from the driver's seat.
He's just trying to rattle me, letting me know he's still watching.
That evening, David carried a heavy hasp and padlock from the workshop and bolted them to the barn door.
I should call the sheriff and report him for trespassing, but that would put the foal on the books, and once it's official, Wade's claim might stick.
He propped the old Winchester in the corner by the door, its barrel cold and familiar.
They're all under my roof now, and I'll be damned if I let that man take any of them.
The next morning, David climbed to the hayloft with fresh meat. The bobcat let him approach within arm's reach.
You and me, we've both lost something. My wife, Martha, she would have loved you.
The bobcat blinked, slowly, her amber eyes holding his gaze for a long moment before she returned to her cubs. That evening, a yellowed paper slipped from behind Martha's photograph on the mantel. It was a vet bill for a mare named Sunrise euthanized at 17 when her eyesight failed.
Sunrise was blind, just like this foal. Martha spent every day with her until the end.
The bobcat hadn't chosen this barn by chance. She'd followed a trail of love laid years before.
Martha, did you send him? Did you guide that bobcat through the woods?
He sank onto a hay bale, the receipt crumpled in his fist, and wept, a release 2 years overdue.
I'll keep him safe. I promise you, Martha, I'll keep them all safe.
The next afternoon, the growl of a familiar engine broke the peace. Wade's truck screeched to a halt at the fence line. He didn't bother with the gate, just climbed out and stormed toward the barn, fury in every step. Reeves, I know that foal is in there. Show me the barn, or I'll have the sheriff here by dusk.
You are not stepping foot in my barn, Wade. Get off my land before I call the sheriff myself.
I've got the mayor's papers. That foal is my property, and a judge will see it that way. The words hit David like a physical blow. He had no legal claim, only a barn full of broken creatures trusting him.
No registration, no vet records, just a blind foal and a wild cat, depending on me to keep them safe.
You've got 24 hours, old man. Then I'm coming back with the law. He climbed into his truck, the engine roaring to life, and left David standing in a cloud of dust and fear.
I need proof he wanted that foal dead. I need evidence that puts his cruelty on display.
He remembered the old trail cam he'd strapped to a pine near Wade's fence line, a camera he'd nearly forgotten. Within the hour, he had the memory card in his laptop, the timestamp skipping to the night the mare vanished. The first frame showed the mare crashing through the underbrush, her halter trailing, her eyes wild with fear and purpose.
She wasn't running from coyotes. She was running from something worse. She was running to save her foal.
Then, a second clip, time-stamped 40 minutes later. Wade Harlan, rifle in hand, stalking the same trail with a hunter's silence. And finally, an image that made the story clear. The pregnant bobcat, nose to the ground, following the mare's scent, straight toward David's barn.
She saw Wade with that rifle. She knew the mare fled to give birth somewhere safe, and she led the foal here.
The timestamps aligned like a roadmap of mercy. 10:12 p.m. The mare fled. 10:48 p.m. Wade followed. 11:15 p.m. The bobcat picked up the scent.
She knew what he was going to do. She brought him here because she knew I'd protect him.
He now had the evidence, not just of ownership, but of a cruelty so stark that no judge could ignore it. The bobcat had given him a weapon far sharper than a rifle. Instead of waiting for Wade's next move, David called the county's large animal vet, a woman who'd treated his horses for years. He asked about Wade Harlan's mare, Daisy, and whether Wade had ever discussed putting down a blind foal. The vet's voice softened. Wade called me the night the mare vanished. He wanted pentobarbital to euthanize a newborn. I refused.
That's the evidence I needed. He intended to kill the foal before it was even born.
The vet continued, her voice steady. She had the call record, time stamped 10:30 p.m., and was willing to provide a sworn statement. Within minutes, a scanned document arrived in his email, a phone log with Wade Harlan's number, and the damning timestamp.
10:30 p.m. The same hour the mare bolted. She must have sensed his plan.
He now had a witness who had refused to be complicit, a professional whose word would carry weight in any courtroom. He drove home with a new sense of quiet fury. The barn sanctuary, no longer just a hope, but a fortress under siege.
Wade, you wanted this foal dead. Now the whole world will know.
He stepped back into the barn and froze. The bobcat was on the floor, her 3 cubs tumbling across the straw.
They've come down from the hayloft. That's trust. More than I ever expected from a wild mother.
One spotted cub, barely steady on its legs, wobbled to the foal's stall and sat inches from his nose. The blind foal didn't flinch. He lowered his head and sniffed the small wild creature as if it were expected.
You are teaching them. We're family. All of us, under this roof.
The bobcat blinked, a slow, deliberate closing of those amber eyes, and chuffed, a sound of feline reassurance.
She used to raid Wade's trash bins. She must have seen the rifle. She understood what Wade planned to do. I'll protect you all. You have my word.
The bobcat gave a small trill and settled near the foal, her cubs curling against her, a new kind of family forming. David watched them, and in the silence of the barn, the lines between wild and tame faded, replaced by something deeper. That evening, David carried the old halter into the barn, the one Martha had stitched for her blind mare, Sunrise, years ago.
Martha believed every horse deserved a name that meant something, especially the ones others gave up on.
He knelt in the straw, the foal's milky eyes turning toward the rustle of leather. Gently, he slipped the halter over its ears.
You are not Wade's property. You are not a throwaway. Your name is true, and this is your home now.
Above them, the bobcat stirred in the hayloft. She peered down and let out a low, resonant sound. Not a growl, but something closer to a purr.
You approve, don't you? I thought you might.
He had already carved a nameplate in the workshop. Sunrise above, and now below it, fresh and bold, true. That night, he didn't return to the empty house. He spread a wool blanket on the barn floor beside True and lay down. The cub's faint mewls drifted from above, the bobcat's steady breath, a lullaby, and for the first time in 2 years, he slept without nightmares. The name hung in the air like a promise sealed, and the bobcat, in her silent vigil, seemed to understand it perfectly. The next morning, a county sheriff's SUV pulled into the yard, Wade Harlan's pickup close behind. The deputy, a man David had known for years, unfolded a complaint and asked to see the barn. That foal is mine. I've got the mare's registration. The law's on my side. Reeves.
I have no bill of sale, no vet records, just a blind foal and a wildcat who trusts me more than she trusts him.
David unlatched the door, leading them inside to where True stood, the nameplate gleaming on the stall. He pulled the printed trail cam images and the vet's sworn statement from his pocket, spreading them on a hay bale. The deputy studied the timestamps, the vet's phone log, and the image of Wade stalking the mare with a rifle. He looked from the foal to the bobcat in the rafters, then back to David, and said, "I'll give you 3 days to make your case." Wade snorted in triumph, but the deputy held up a hand. 3 days, and both sides would be heard.
72 hours. I need a lawyer who'll believe a bobcat crossed 4 miles to save a foal from a bullet.
He spent the next hours at his kitchen table, a manila folder open, the edges of his case taking shape.
The vet's statement is solid, but I need something more. Something that shows this isn't just a legal fight.
He printed the trail cam stills and laid them in order. The mare fleeing, Wade following, the bobcat guiding. From a dusty box, he pulled a photograph of Martha with sunrise, the mare's cloudy eyes mirroring True's.
Martha loved that mare. Maybe this will show the deputy that blind horses have value.
He crept into the barn with his phone, capturing the bobcat's silhouette in the rafters, those amber eyes patient.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, this one screams that the impossible is real.
He wrote out a timeline. 10:12 p.m., the mare bolted. 10:30 p.m., Wade called for drugs. 11:15 p.m., the bobcat led the way. The pile of paper was unconventional, but it held a truth that was undeniable.
I've done all I can. Now, I just have to hope the law sees what I see.
That night, the screech of splintering wood tore through the barn. David was on his feet, the Winchester in his hands before he was fully awake.
Someone's at the door. Wade. He's not waiting for the hearing.
He unlatched the door. Wade Harlan stood swaying in the moonlight, the sour stench of whiskey on his breath, the butt of his rifle hammering against the hasp. "Told you I'd be back. That foal's mine, and you can't hide behind the law." David racked the lever, the sound sharp in the cold air. "Get off my land," he said, but Wade only laughed and lunged. They crashed together, the rifles clattering. David's head snapped back from a wild punch, but he drove his shoulder into Wade's chest. Then a sound cut through the chaos, a piercing, furious shriek from the rafters. The bobcat was on her feet, back arched, fangs bared. Wade froze, his eyes darting upward in disbelief. In that heartbeat, David swept Wade's legs and pressed the Winchester's cold muzzle to his neck.
You are done, Wade. Sheriff's on his way.
By the time the deputy's flashing lights painted the barn red, Wade was in cuffs on the ground, and the bobcat had settled back over her cubs. At dawn, the sheriff returned without Wade, his expression unreadable. David handed over the thick file. The deputy scanned the trail cam stills, the vet's statement, the timeline of that night. He led the deputy deeper into the barn, where the bobcat's amber eyes tracked them from the rafters.
True. Come here, boy. I am not a lawyer. All I have is their trust. That's my whole case.
The deputy looked from the nameplate to the bobcat, then back to David. No one spoke. The deputy announced the complaint was dismissed. A judge would finalize permanent ownership, but for now, the foal was David's. David's hand shook as he signed the temporary custody agreement, the paper resting on a hay bale. He watched the sheriff's SUV roll out of sight, then pressed his forehead to the fence and exhaled slowly. True had a home, and the barn had a guardian. That was enough for one lifetime. 3 weeks later, the county courtroom doors swung shut behind him, and with them, Wade Harlan's claim was dismissed. The judge's voice still echoed. The trail cam footage, the vet's testimony, Wade's own criminal trespass, all ruled in David's favor. He drove the familiar road home with the windows down, the receipt for True's official registration resting on the passenger seat. When he killed the engine and stepped out, the barn's wide door was open, and the bobcat was sitting just inside, waiting. She chuffed once, a low, rolling purr, and True answered from the stall with a soft, rumbling nicker.
They knew I'd be back. They trusted me to fight for them.
He pressed his forehead to True's warm flank, breathing in the scent of hay and life. No more court dates. No more Wade.
It's over, Martha. They're safe. We're all safe.
For the first time in 2 years, the farm didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like a home. He slid down onto the hay beside True, the bobcat settling nearby, and let the quiet wash over him. Over the weeks, the cubs grew bold. They followed their mother into the paddock, tumbling through clover while True grazed nearby. One morning, the smallest cub broke from the pack and tottered straight to True's legs. True lowered his head, his cloudy eyes calm, and stood perfectly still as the cub pawed at his pastern.
Martha used to say, a good pasture is a place where everything belongs.
The bobcat lounged on a sun-warmed rock, her eyes half closed, as if she'd always known this moment would come.
She's here. I feel her in every breath these animals take.
David leaned on the fence and wept, not the broken sobs of 2 years ago, but tears that washed the dust from his soul.
This is what it means to be destroyed, not by loss, but by the weight of what's been given back.
The bobcat trilled softly, and True nickered in reply, the sound carrying across the paddock like a benediction. The farmer who had once been hollow now stood in the center of a miracle, and he was utterly, completely ruined by it. One evening, the bobcat wove between David's ankles like a barn cat, her purr rumbling as she led him to the paddock. True stood waiting, his blind eyes turned toward the rising scent of clover, and the cubs sprawled in a patch of wild daisies. They gathered in the first light of dawn. The bobcat perched on a hay bale, her cubs tumbling at her feet.
Thank you.
The trail camera on the old oak still blinked its tiny red light, no longer a witness to danger, but a keeper of miracles. The sun crested the barn, its golden rays spilling over True's chestnut coat, and for a moment, everything was still.
I am not alone. I never was, and I never will be again.
The bobcat gave one last chuff, then turned and melted into the tall grass, her cubs following like shadows. The farm woke to a new day, and David Reeves discovered that a shattered heart can still learn to beat, full and steady, in a world remade by love. And in the quiet of the morning, if you listened closely, you could almost hear Martha whisper back, "Welcome home." Winter's ice melted into a rushing creek, and the first green shoots pushed through the mud. The barn door stayed open now, and the bobcat came and went as she pleased, always returning by dusk. True had grown into a leggy yearling, his chestnut coat gleaming with health, despite his milky eyes.
He canters without fear now. He knows every inch of this pasture.
In his workshop, David carved a new nameplate from oak, then mounted it on the stall below the original. The sign read, "True Family." He stepped back, dusted his hands on his overalls, and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun.
Martha would be proud. We built this family out of broken pieces and wild hope.
True trotted past, his head high, and the Bobcat watched from her spot on the sun-warmed fence post. And in that quiet moment, the farm breathed as one. Man, horse, and wildcat, bound by something stronger than blood. On a warm spring evening, David sat on the farmhouse porch, a coffee mug cooling in his hands. True grazed beside the old mare, and the Bobcat lounged in the tall grass with her cubs. The whole strange, beautiful family shared the paddock in the golden light. The old trail camera watched from its oak, now draped in ivy and wild flowers. Its red light still blinked, a quiet sentinel no longer needed for evidence. David glanced toward the barn, and the image from that first night returned, but different. No lantern's fearful glare, only the soft glow of another day's end, safe and loved. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let the moments settle deep into his bones. The story didn't end with a sunset or a goodbye. It continued in every breath they shared, and the barn, once a tomb, now stood as a promise kept by a farmer who refused to let the darkness win.